Yo, why are you playing Minecraft? Your project's due tomorrow. Your poem project?
You think I don't know that? I just don't want to do this project.
Well, you better get working cause it's 3 p.m.
Well, hold on. You owe me a favor, remember? So you should do this project.
Whoa, what are you talking about?
Remember that time when Stacy wanted to go out to eat, but Rebecca wanted you to go to the movies, and then Tracy asked you to eat with her family, so then I had to...
Oh, yeah. Okay, stop talking. I'll do your project.
I always have to do it.
I felt a funeral in my brain. By Emily Dickinson. It's Dickinson's. Okay. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading, till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, an eye, and silence, some strange race, wrecked, solitary here. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down, and hit a world at every plunge, and finished knowing then. Okay, now that the scary weary stuff is over, we can talk about what this poem means. Now, Dickinson uses the metaphor of funeral a lot. Most people view this poem as dying or something scary, but it's more of like the speaker of the poem coming to a realization that a part of her is dying, a part of her sanity, for example. It delves on the topic of madness. It talks about losing grip on reality and feeling sanity go away. Her sanity has died, and there's chaos in her mind. There's destruction in her mind, and there's a fuming clouds that clogs it. Basically like mourners at a funeral walking back and forth. And in fact, she also repeats several words, such as I'm treading. She says treading. It's almost like a hammering of power, a hammering of words one after another to evoke a sense of like its urgency in the speaker's mind. She also emphasizes silence, basically solitary in a person's mind. She also feels a sensation of falling. She mentions losing ground, the planks falling. So basically meaning she no longer has stable ground. She's lost her sanity and loses grip of the ground. Essentially, the speaker of the poem is losing her sanity and is going mad. And that's about it for the poem analysis. Obviously with any connotation of funeral, there's always going to be a reference to death. So basically it's just showing the death of one's maybe their identity or some sort of part. Maybe it's not formally addressed in the poem, but one could assume the speaker of the poem is reacting to a lack of control or a loss of rationality that happens to threaten the speaker. In addition, the funeral also marks the passing from one state to another, maybe life or death, or maybe from, in this case, a parallel from sanity to insanity. However, the poet is not observing the funeral. He or she is not objectively viewing the funeral. They're merely feeling the funeral in their brain. They are the funeral. They are the participant of that funeral, feeling that they are dividing upon themselves, losing control, and having been shattered into several pieces. There's a lot of uses of metaphors, a lot of use of repetition to really emphasize the fact of madness, the fact of losing oneself away, a wrecked solitary as she describes it herself, or marking herself as some member of a strange race. Her alienation and inability to communicate with herself and others indicate herself being engulfed in this silent void. So it's quite a scary tone to it, quite a scary weight to it, and which is what makes the poem so strong. It makes the poem so evil in a sense. It makes the poem seem so chaotic, but the poem's in order. It almost seems that losing sanity is like a constant snowball rolling down that just builds up into one gigantic pitfall of chaos. And like she says in the end of the poem, she plunges. Her descent is described as a plunge. A plunge is a really instant speed of force rather than a descent. A descent sounds more like a slow fall, but she describes it as a plunge through the falls. So the way she describes losing sanity almost feels like very forceful, and she's coming for an end. She falls to her psychological chaos. The last word of the poem also just ends off with then. It doesn't finish or end her experience, and it leaves the door open to interpreters for a bountiful nightmare of horror and confusion of madness. I enjoyed this poem because I'm always a fan of scary things. Although this poem doesn't deal with anything spiritual, sorcery, or ghost-like nature, it still uses quite a scary tone to it. The tone is very dramatic and almost looming over the reader. The way Emily Dickinson describes losing sanity as feeling a funeral in her brain is almost very metaphorically enhancing. It almost helps us visualize a actual sanity losing grip, actually losing sight of reality. A funeral in the brain makes it very visual for the reader, unlike just describing madness. Always been a fan of scary things, so really enjoyed a good scary poem, and in this sense the tone and the description was very well put out. So overall, really enjoyed the poem. That is why this is my favorite poem. Please stream Me Plus You on all platforms. Me Plus You by June featuring Lin Dane Guy. It's a song I made. It's very good. Here's a sneak peek of my future song. Thank you.